Welcome back. Well, I thought I would start this video with my hair pulled back so you can get a better look at how the Bell's palsy is coming. Eyebrows. Notice the left one is not going up quite as high as the right one yet, but it's going up, and that is a big deal. Also, I can purse my lips, not when it's taped like this, but I can, in fact, purse my lips pretty well. It's the smiling and moving this part of my mouth that's still hanging me up. Also, my left eye isn't doing a very good job of closing on its own, but I thought you'd like to see where we are at right now, and this is where we are at. So, yes, it is actually improving, and I'm starting to believe it, so I'm excited, because it's nice to know that this isn't permanent. All right, so what are we doing today? Well, before I went into quasi-quarantine, I took a trip to Bedford Antiques, and I did some shopping, and also I got some stuff that I think we should probably talk about in a more global sense. So, when we come back. Okay, let's start with where I always start when I go into Bedford. There is a little booth that is, when you walk in the door, it's off to the right. It's cluttered, it's got a strange assortment of stuff. But I always find the most interesting things there. And last time I found a really pretty Occupied Japan coffee pot. Now in the video, I'm going to say that it's a teapot. No, it's not. Remember, a teapot is round and fat. A coffee pot is taller, slimmer, and has a spout coming up from the bottom. It has a very long spout. A teapot has a fairly short spout, and a chocolate pot has a pinched lip at the top rather than a separate spout, like an elephant trunk spout. It's just got a little pinched lip, more like a measuring cup. So this is, in fact, a coffee pot. So let's take a look. Well, this is usually the first booth I go to. I find really odd things tucked away here, but invariably some extremely good bargains. This is an Occupied Japan teapot. Let's flip it over. There we go. Let's see if we can see that. Occupied Japan. And the price. Obviously, this piece is definitely coming home with me. I am always surprised by the things I find there. The last time I was there, the time before this particular trip, I found this beautiful lusterware teapot just sitting there, and the things are so cheap. And I know they change their stock, because every time I go there, I find something new and exciting, and it's usually like $2. So, yeah, favorite little shop, absolutely. The next thing, and this is what I would like to talk about today. So, let's take a look at some Geishaware. Okay, let's take a look at this for a moment. We're going to start off with the price. $4.50. As you can see, it's Geishaware, the chrysanthemum pattern. There's a little chip right here. Nothing too major. It could easily be repaired. Unusual shape. Here's the shape of the saucer and the shape of the cup. Probably something that would be considered desirable by Geishaware collectors, and they are out there. But at $4.50 for a damaged piece, no, I'm not taking the chance. Now this little cup, if it hadn't been for the chip, I certainly would have grabbed it because it's extremely unusual. It was an unusual shape. The saucer was very elaborate, as you saw, I'm sure, very decorative edge. And people collect Geishaware. A collector would want a piece like that, even though it's not classic. It doesn't have the geisha ladies on it. It's the chrysanthemum design, which was another very popular pattern in this Japanese, inexpensive Japanese porcelain. They're all the same style. Some of them just have different patterns on it. And that's what I thought we might want to talk about today, because as you know, I'm not a huge fan of Geishaware. It was extremely inexpensive. It was inexpensive to make, inexpensive to buy. It's cheap, is what it was. And as a result, I just don't think it holds up against some of the better pieces, the fine old Nippon pieces, the Noritake pieces. It's just lower quality. And that's what I have against it. On the other hand, I have to take a step back and say, that's me. That's not everybody. There are a lot of things that were not top quality that I just love the daylights out of. All kinds of things. I'm thinking, what comes to mind? Well, a lot of the Japanese lusterware that was just quick, down and dirty. They moved it out. It was higher quality than the Geishaware, but still, it was not really fine porcelain. Do you need to come up? Well, you can if you want to. If you don't, you can stay there. Now, these pieces came into the U.S. in quantity after the Second World War. They started coming in at the beginning of the 20th century because they were inexpensive export pieces. The older pieces are generally better quality than the post-war pieces. The post-war pieces came over, shipped home by American GIs, sometimes packed in their suitcases. They were brought home to their moms or their wives, and a young serviceman, and that's not being sexist, the people that were over there were almost all men. Young serviceman could go out and with a few dollars in his pocket get his mom a set of china, 50, 60 pieces, like full service for 8, 12, whatever. Put it in a box, send it home. The military shipped things for these guys dirt cheap. And it was so stuff came home. And keep in mind, these servicemen were by and large teenage boys. So when you have teenage boys buying china for mom, you gotta know they're going to be excited by the volume of china and the pretty little geisha women, and they're not going to say, oh, I do think this compares very well to the Sèvres porcelain I saw at Tiffany's last week. No, it's just, here, Ma, china for you. So it hit the farms. in Idaho or Indiana, and it's nostalgic stuff for a lot of us who remember these pieces. I remember my friends having tea sets like this when I was young. It was, not my family. My family had rose medallion, but we were special. But I actually was my grandmother. She was the snob. But these things were just everywhere in the 50s. So it's kitsch. It's just Japanese porcelain kitsch. But there's a market for it. And now that we've moved back, like we're 70 years from the time that this was starting to flood the country and show up in five and dime stores and coming home with the GIs. Now it's taken on a life of its own. So it's there. There is a collector's market for it. So it's something worth taking a look at. And as I say, that little cup, if it had not been damaged, I would have grabbed it. But the damage made it problematic for the price. So I have another Geishaware set coming up for you. Actually, two more coming up for you, because I wanted to show you some variety, because I thought we'd talk about geisha on this video. So it's not the last of it. But the next piece is interesting, and I'm starting to see these pieces show up, and it is a glass head. So let's take a look. Well, here we have a green glass head. These things were very collectible back in the 60s and 70s when they were considered very kitschy, very avant-garde. So what's the problem with this? Problem with this right here is, notice the price tag, $19. And right now you can buy some brand new for less. So are we taking it? Not a chance. So these heads were initially popular in the late 60s. In the late 60s, wigs were kind of a thing. They were a fashion statement, and women would just wear wigs. I'm a blonde one day, I'm a brunette the next day. It was sort of ordinary. It's not done today. People don't really do this. If someone wears a wig, it very often means there's something wrong, alopecia or, chemotherapy, something like that. They have some reason. But back in the 60s, wigs were sort of a fun thing to do. And heads like that were very often used as wig stands, and they were sort of decorative accessories. You can still get them because they were made in abundance, and they still got all the molds. So the ones that are being made today are going to be almost identical to the ones that were made back in the 60s. That one at, $19.50, I think, it was overpriced because you can get new ones for less. And that's why we would walk away from that one in particular. But if you find them for $5 or $10, absolutely pick them up, because people will buy them. Not so much for wigs anymore, but people will use them as hat stands or just decorative accessories around the home because they're kind of funky, Well, do people still say funky? I'm giving away my age. They're kind of funky. They're cute. They're, they're retro. They harken back to another time. So if the price is right, buy them. You'll find a market for them. So the next thing that I happened across was an interesting little trinket box. So let's take a peek at this. Well, a very nice stroke of luck. This is a pretty little piece. We've got a marking that I'm just going to have to go home and look up, but probably Japanese. Gold design on the top, and it is a little trinket box. So what's the big deal about the little trinket box? Well, let me start with $4, and I recently sold a little trinket box in my Etsy store, and apparently the post office played football with it, as they are inclined to do from time to time. Got smashed up, so now I have a replacement piece to offer. Not bad. Well, as I mentioned, I had recently sold a trinket box in my Etsy store. Postal damage. It was remarkably similar to that one. So I'm glad to have another piece that I can offer for sale. Who knows, maybe the buyer who got the first one and it was damaged and they got their money back. Maybe they want to try again. I don't know. I mean, postal damage is sky high lately, and apparently there is some COVID thing going on with people not going to work, and I don't know really what is happening, but postal damage is up lately. Everybody is saying so. So who knows? But I thought it was cute. I'm going to grab that for my Etsy shop, and because those things sell, they really do. They're attractive. People like them. They can find uses for them. Usually, if you can stick something in something, like a trinket box, well, it's not hoarding if you put it in a box, right? So if you can stick something in it, people will usually buy it. We like boxes. What can I say? So also in that booth was more Geishaware. So let's take a look. Same shop as our little trinket dish. And this is a set of 3 Geishaware cups and saucers. They are marked on the tag as Nippon because, in fact, they are marked Nippon. But in this case, Nippon is simply the Japanese word for Japan. All that means is that these items were marked prior to the point where Japan was using American words, and basically that is pre-World War II. So we've got pre-World War II Geishaware. That's basically what we're looking at here. Very nicely executed. One of these cups is missing a handle. Nevertheless, I think this is something that will be worthwhile taking with me. Well, this Geishaware was early Geishaware. It was still marked Nippon, so it's pre-war, and it was pretty well executed. Now, the problem, of course, is one of the cups was missing the handle. Well, it wasn't missing. The handle was inside the cup. It was there, but it was broken off. But the price was good, and I think it's quite likely that a pair of little Geishaware demi-tasse cups, in other words, I'll just take the 2 best, or the 2 cups with handles and the 2 best saucers and sell them as a pair. That's probably something that will sell. So, and the price was good on it too. So, But as you can see, the pieces date back to the early 20th century. That's when the Nippon marks were used, early 20th century. That was not one of the post-war pieces. Very interesting. Those were better quality in general. So they're worth grabbing. So the next piece was a lusterware vase. Just a pretty little vase. What can I say? I was sort of hooked. Well, I came across this. It's a very pretty little lusterware vase. $5. Around here, that's kind of a high price. But this is one of those booths with pricing that I usually refer to as Pifta. P-F-T-A. Stands for plucked from thin air. No rhyme or reason. $7 for those salt shakers. $6 for this pair, and look at that. You know that there's no way a cork's going to get in there. It's never going to be a usable set. We've got Geishaware, and this is a manufacturer's advertising piece. I guess it's, let's take a look. The economy, your satisfaction, our success, Scranton, PA. So this was probably a giveaway, might have even been a restaurant piece advertising. We've got a pretty set here, totally unmarked. Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back. This set, $10, plucked from thin air. We have this set, $6. It's a little tomato and a corn, and it's sitting in a basket that I don't think originally went with the set. So, yeah. In general, booths like this are really good for getting special finds. You can tell from the pricing that they really don't know what they have. They're just putting a price on it. $10 for this. $10 for the sugar bowl. You know, it's like everything around here is marked the same here. Salt and pepper shaker, nice big ones. $6. And these are the corn cobs. They've got their little corks still in them. $5 for this. No rhyme or reason in the pricing. Now, vases like this, you can sell these things all day long. People like them. They are popular. They sell. Everybody needs vases, and no one ever has enough. At least I don't ever have enough. I will invariably go prowling around looking for something, especially in the summer, you know, cut some flowers from the garden and think, what am I going to put this in? And, you know, I'm looking around for vases. Everything's got dried flowers in it. So I'm saying to myself, if in a house with 15 vases with dried flowers in them, if I am stuck sticking my handful of daisies in a coffee cup, that really doesn't say much for me. So everybody needs some vases. So let's take a look now at the next batch of Geishaware. And this was, in fact, the final batch of Geishaware that I wanted you to see. I have a feeling that I have filmed this particular set before. I'm not sure. I'm sure I've seen it before. I just don't know if I've shared it with you. Geishaware with the blue rim. Blue rim is pretty rare, really nice for Geishaware. Look at that. And you know, we judge the quality of Geishaware in part by how carefully they paint in between the lines. This is 6 cups and saucers, the teapot that's in the back, the sugar bowl, both lidded, and the creamer, $20. Now, for a Geishaware collector, that's like a dream come true, because it is a nice service for 6 tea set. And you just don't see those for $20 regardless of the pattern. But I don't know. I think if I had more Geishaware collectors wandering through my Etsy shop, I might be inclined to take a chance. But just to show you what's out there, this is not bad. And for a set like this, what are we talking, 12? 17 pieces for $20. We are absolutely talking about thrift store prices. Well, this piece set for $20 is a really good bargain. So why didn't I take it? I find that when I sell things through my Etsy shop, I need to hit a certain price point. A set like that, if I pay $20 for it, at $30, I'm breaking even. So in order to turn a profit on it, I have to look at $40. That's not an unreasonable price for it, but it's more than what usually sells in my shop. That's probably a very good buy for someone who deals in more high-priced items. I don't. I keep my prices as low as I can. And I want them to stay below $30. I really can't do that on a set like that because, you know, we're talking about a full tea service for 6. So it doesn't make sense for me. But for somebody else, that would definitely make sense as a purchase. It's very nice, very good condition, well executed, and the blue, that cobalt blue edging around the piece, that is unusual. Most Geishaware pieces have a brick red rim around the edge. And then the next common color is green. Blue is very uncommon. So is yellow, in fact. I've seen a couple of yellow pieces. This is the first time, in fact, that I've seen like a full tea service. That was, what did I say, 17 pieces, I think I said. Full tea service with that blue design. Was it a good buy? $20? Yes. For me, no. And that's the thing you always have to keep in mind. A good bargain needs to be a good bargain for you. It has to fit with your inventory and your sales philosophy. It's a good bargain for somebody else. And obviously, I hope somebody else does go in there and snap that up. Some of our viewers do go into Bedford. That's there. Grab that. Good bargain. So our final piece is a piece from a magazine. I believe it's a magazine cover. It was just a really nice, streamlined moderne. That's art moderne. We've talked about this a lot. Art Deco and Art Moderne, what the differences are. Art Moderne, the easy way to think about it, is that is American Art Deco, which means it was bigger, it was jazzier, it was moving, it was going somewhere. It was just ramped up on steroids. That's the difference. Art Deco is French, Art Moderne is American. So, and that was the different philosophy. Art Moderne was influenced by the transportation industry, the trains, the steamships, the airplanes, the cars, sleek movement, aerodynamic, the lines were there. So let's take a look at this Art Moderne piece. Well, this is one of the nicest images from the period of Streamline Moderne, Art Moderne, that I have seen in a long time. Oh, am I ever tempted to take that home with me. $10, maybe I'll come back. So one of these days in the not too distant future, I might go back in for that piece because I do like it. And I like Art Moderne in general. Art Moderne does not go in my house. It really doesn't. Because most of what I have is Eastlake and steampunk. It's hard to stick Art Moderne in there. But what can I say? I like the piece. I might try. All right. Anyway, that is the first half of our Bedford antique shopping trip. I'm going to do up the second half for you, and we'll talk about some other issues, things that might be of interest to you in terms of our buying and selling. So, I hope this has been informative, and I will see you all tomorrow.